Hi students, let's continue with food preservation and the techniques which we had mentioned earlier. Now the technique which we have next is the canning. Canning, as we know, it was a technique which has been developed by Nicholas Appert, and the term appertization is also been given in an honor to the process of canning. He is called the father of canning as he developed the first food bottling factory in the world, and it was this food bottling factory and the technique which he used which was further developed into the canning process. What he used to do was, into these bottles, he used to put a variety of food, and then what happens, these once it has been sealed, it was protected using wrapped in canvas, and it was dunked into boiling water, and he used to boil them in the water in such a way that the food contents were being preserved, and this technique is called appertization in an honor to Appert. And the temperature which was being used for pasteurization was not the one which was being used here. It was a higher temperature, as we told. It is a boiling water into which he had immersed the water. And so now let's go into canning, the newer version of appertization. Canning, as we know, is a food preservation method involving placing the food in a container and heating them to a temperature that would kill the spoilage causing microbes. And the principle is that no microbial growth occurs in the food until the normal storage conditions at ambient temperatures and until the package is opened. So you expect that until the can has been opened and until the can has been stored in normal storage conditions at an ambient temperature, the spoilage of the microbes will not occur. Once the package is opened, what happens? The effects of canning will be lost, and the food will need to be regarded as a perishable, and its shelf life will depend upon the nature of the food itself. So till the can is opened, the shelf life, as well as we do expect that food spoilage microbes will not enter into the can. And the most heat resistant pathogen that can survive the canning process of low acid food is Clostridium botulinum, and this bacteria can form a heat resistant spores under adverse conditions that will germinate in the absence of oxygen and produce a highly potent toxin, causing the lethal condition known as botulism. And we all know that people who get botulism, it will result in the death of those people with a time of about 7 days. So canning, as we know, has a different steps, and let's go into the steps of it. Canning can be done of different things. Now commonly we get cans of fruits, vegetables, as well as meat products, and even some drinks, we get them in cans. So now let me talk about the canning procedure of vegetables as well as fruits. So once they are being grown, they are being harvested, they transported, and then of course grading of that too happens, whether it's good or bad. So depending upon if it's a good variety, that is considered, and then what happens, you wash it. A cold storage can be done of that, and then you wash it, and if it's a vegetable or something like that, you will peel it, and then slicing and halving and all that could happen depending upon the whatever it is, what vegetable it is. And if it's a vegetable, you will do a process of called blanching, and once it is blanched, and what happens, you fill it into a container, and then the juice or the syrup is added onto it, and you seal it. Once you seal it, so you can notice whatever cans. Now if you go to get tuna fish cans or something like that, or meat cans or something like that, you can see that the shredded meat or the shredded tuna piece will be in the can, and that will be immersed in a liquid, or a syrup will be added onto it. So depending upon what food it is, a syrup is added to preserve its integrity, and then thereafter what happens, the tin is being sealed. It is hermetically sealed, and then you cook it. Once you cook it, the time it varies, of course we will talk about that later, and then after that you have a cooling step, and then it is being stored. After the cooling, it is stored, it is labeled, and then it is dispatched. Now coming to the overall process that we have, you have a empty container, you have the unprocessed food, you put it inside it and you seal it with a container, seal the container with a cover, and then you give a thermal processing as we mentioned earlier. Then you give a cooling procedure, and the container itself is hermetically sealed. And this is a product which is, this is the overall schematic procedure of about the process of canning. Now you have, these can be done in large scale. At the same time, there are also some home scale canning machines also which are being available right now in market, and this is an electrical canner. Here it does not take much of space and all that. You can it's like you can add water into it and you can easily drain it out also. And into this, what happens, you can put the cans, the sealed cans can be put into it, okay, and then you can close it, and you just have to put it connected to the power for the duration of time that you need. And once the heat treatment is being done, you can take it and you cool it, and you can, so you do expect to kill the microbes within the can by keeping the can within a boiling water bath, okay, like a boiling water or something. You will cook it for some time depending upon the food that you are placing, okay, and then once you once the heating process has been done, it has been taken out and it has been cooled. Now talking about the steps, we have the packing, sealing in the container, thermal processing as we had mentioned. Now in the case of high acid foods, 100 degrees centigrade in water, in a water bath canner, whereas in low acid foods we have about 116 to 121 degrees centigrade in a pressure canner. And then you cool it, okay, you can cool it, you keep it undisturbed at a room temperature for around 12 to 24 hours. That can be done. And finally you will store it and send it for the processing. I hope so much is clear to you. Thank you.